Basement, level vibes with another one, straight up, blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and on the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop.
And you're confident that you're going to deliver credible and fair elections?
Of course. Only one way I know, and that is the correct way. I do not believe in, there's so much negative things in the newspapers. I will not sell my integrity for
Yeah, this is the elite team, the root team, strong team.
Number one,
PPP team. Yeah, this is the elite team, the root team, strong.
Mr. Mark, I believe every word of what Mr. Shu is saying. I am also afraid of Mr. Shu. Mr. Shu, if you are listening, I don't want anybody to harm you. This is a serious thing. Corruption is big. And we Chinese have to stop that. Been bullied by Jack Dale and other government official to pay bribe. It's big all over Guyana. a Chinese to pay by bribe. Mr. Xu, I hope you to stay strong. Do not. We respect and salute you for your bravery, for coming up and speak against corruption in Guyana.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100. Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
All right. Hey, good evening. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock Guyana time. My name is Mark Benshop, and we're going to rock and roll for about, what is it? How long you guys want us to go for this evening? As our guys saddle up in the studio and ensure that we're properly connected. At 15 or 20 minutes after, we'll have Wayne Caesar join with us. It's Monday, so we want to discuss some things happening in Guyana. But take a good look at what's on the screen right now. And thank you, Lemon. Take a good look of what's on the screen right now and tell me what you see. And I want you guys to be very, very honest. Tell me exactly what you see and what you think about what you see. Tell me what you see. And you guys can be straightforward. It's Monday evening. I know you want to hear about a lot of other things happening in Guyana, but take a good look at that photograph. Tell me what you see, who this photograph looks like. And just be honest with me. Sorry, the operator just playing around a little. But take a good look, guys. Take a good look. Take a good look. I'm not going to move on until you tell me exactly what you see there. Take a good look. Again, my apologies. The operators seem to be mixing up photographs, but take a good look and be honest with us. We want you to be honest. This is exactly what we do here on 107.1 FM. Straight up, please spread the word. Let folks know that we are on. My name is Mark Benshop. We're going to rock and roll for just about 1 hour. And hey, what is happening? Let's start right off the bat. This is information that we were privy to about the shakeup in the Guyana Defense Force by this guy who was installed there by the installed regime. So he's an installed head of the Guyana Defense Force. His name is Omar Khan. He is no stranger to controversy. Many of you would remember the Lindo Creek massacre. They attempted to blame it on those guys who, quote unquote, escaped. And that the controversy surrounding the massacre is still there in the minds of everyone, especially the family members of those who were murdered. We were told by members of the Guyana Defense Force and members of the Guyana Police Force, along with some Phantom Squad operatives. And so maybe the time would come when one day this guy, Omar Khan, who's installed as head of the Guyana Defense Force, would be forthcoming and tell the people the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So this is what's happening. They're shaking up the army, the Guyana Defense Force, folks, that senior officers who are far more qualified than this guy were not allowed to head the army. And some of the senior officers are sent off overseas for, training. And whatever training that is, they're sent off to become attaché to Sam Hines in Washington and other places. One very senior rank was actually told that he has to go to become the head of the Guyana Prison Service. That individual, that officer, said point blank, he is a trained soldier. He was not trained to become head of the Guyana Prison Service. He knows nothing about prisons. And so this is what is happening right now in the Guyana Defense Force. Lots and lots of problems in the Guyana Defense Force. And I just want you guys to hear that right here on 107.1 FM. Let's get to this situation here. U.S. probing Exxon contractor in Guyana for smuggling drugs and gold. At no point in time, the authorities in Guyana attempted to get to the bottom of this situation where they would try to liaise with their foreign law enforcement officers, whether in the US, the UK, or so forth, to at least get a little bit of information as to what's happening with this probe. It says here, U.S. probing Exxon contractor in Guyana. And the contractor that they're talking about there is Azruddin Mohammed. Azruddin Mohammed and his father. Allegations that they are into drug smuggling. Allegations that they are into gold smuggling and all these different things. All these different things. Recently, they've been trying to run from it. They've been trying to say, no, it's not true. No, they're clean. No, come on. U.S. law enforcement agencies are not going to investigate these kinds of people unless they have solid evidence on them. So they can run around, they can hand out monies, they can hand out gifts, they can, whatever it is they can do. At some point in time, they'll have to face the tune, if indeed that the law enforcement agencies in the U.S., if indeed, mind you, if indeed they have all these evidence against these people parading around Guyana as though and as if they own Guyana. Good evening again to all of you. Hey, guess what? My name is Mark Benshaw. And what else we can talk about? We spoke about the Guyana Defense Force and how the PPP is controlling those political offices, and those professional offices are being sidelined. They're being kicked out. It's a purge that's happening right now in the Guyana Defense Force. But let's go over to the Guyana Police Force. And as you see, the acting commissioner of police, whose time was extended by the installed president of Guyana, has extended this acting commissioner of police time. What a waste of time. And in doing so, They're stifling the rest of senior officers who can do a far better job in terms of being professional and restoring that sort of professionalism and trust and public's confidence in the Guyana police force. And look who they're hanging out with. Birds of a feather definitely flock together. All right. I don't know what's happening. People have been asking, what's going on? What's the matter with this story? What's happening with the story of the permanent secretary, her visa, U.S. visa being revoked? The phone was confiscated. It was since quote unquote returned. Of course, nothing was taken out of it. Absolutely nothing. And then they're just going about their merry business. Again, with the Azruddin and these other guys, going along with their merry business as though nothing has happened. And you notice the trend in terms of those who are affiliated with this guy Azruddin. Those, I'm not going to bark up, I'm just, I'm not here to bark, but those who are affiliated or whether they claim affiliation with this guy, I don't know, but something, if you don't read between the lines, something and something and something. You know what I mean? All right, my name is Mark Benchop, and welcome those of you who are here. Welcome to all of you. I'm looking at some of your comments and just want to welcome you, all of you, on 107.1 FM. All right, it's Monday night, right? What's happening? Let's touch on some good stuff. Those who made this possible through the Benchop Foundation. Today they went out there and they met some of these beautiful little kids so that they can get some backpacks to head back to school, to have fun, and to get a proper education. And so we want to thank those folks who made this possible. Some of the donors, the people who went out there to get this stuff done. And on behalf of the Benchop Foundation, we say thank you to all of the donors. We're not yet done. We still have some other areas that we're pursuing. And so we just want to show you guys these beautiful little kids in an oil-rich country that if I had my way, all these kids would have had throughout the country. Every school-age child would have had access to these sort of things. But we are just a small organization, and we are thankful for those donors. We ask that they be blessed for doing a wonderful job. And some of our donors are not in the habit. In fact, all of them, they know that once they donate, it goes right where it has to go. And there's a young lady by the name of Joelle, and call up and say, hey, this is it. Everybody chipped in to make it possible. And we just want to say hi to Miss Ronaldo as well, and others. Miss Brenda Casey is on with us, and these are just some of the people who make these things possible, and we are eternally grateful to everyone. Like I said, this is just the beginning. For those of you who are in Guyana, if you can play your part in your village, whether you're from Philippines, wherever you're from, Linden, Georgetown, once you can play your part, it doesn't have to be a big part. If you know that there's a neighbor who has 2 children, who has 1 child, who has 4 children, it doesn't matter, and you can afford to play your part, please play your part, because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village. You cannot depend on a government, a quote-unquote government, because they're just there for political reason. They're just giving the money. If they can use the people, that is what they do. And so play your part, because it takes a village indeed. And we're not completed. We still, whatever little that we have, we want to stretch it into many areas across Guyana, Region 9, Region 10, Region 6, Region 5, Region 4, Region 3, and whatever little we can offer to those folks in the regions who are in need. Again, I stress, who are in need. And so whatever it is, even if it's just a backpack, even if it's just a couple books, play your role, please. The people appreciate every single thing that we can. All right, and moving on now. What do you guys think of the promise made by the installed PPP regime that they are going to make tuition, they're going to make for the University of Guyana tuition free. It's over 3 years now. And I repeat to you guys, over 3 years now, and nothing, absolutely nothing about free tuition, free education at the university level. And it is something that we have decided that we are going to take a look at it. Mr. Wayne Caesar, Ms. Brenda Casey, and others, that we are going to take a look at it to see how best we can, even if it's one scholarship, even if it's 2 scholarships for a year, or whatever books or whatever we can ensure that we provide for some young man or woman who would like to attend the University of Guyana. And through the Ben Sharp Foundation, we have done it over the years as quite a few scholarships that we have given to people. Even though we are not as active as we used to be, we are still trying our best. But we, as much as we are trying our best, what is the regime doing? Why are they wasting hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're taking it and either putting it in their pockets or giving it to their friends and their cronies? Again, that is why I say it takes a village. Let us all play our part. Let us all play our roles. We can't wait until CXC or the results that they have come out, and then we say, how come the kids in this area or that area are not doing well? How come the kids in this area or that area, they're not going to school? Let us play our part. Let us not just sit down and criticize. Let us play our part. So again, not to be repetitive, but if you have a child or you know of a child in an area that needs help, do not condemn, do not laugh, whatever it is, help that child out, because you never know. You might be helping a future president, a future doctor, a future teacher, a future talk show host. Who knows what the future holds? And if you bless that child and you have kids or you have grandkids, the blessings fall upon them as well. So the world is so short, it's so small that you never know who is who. So bless up, as we would say, bless up a child. All right, what else is happening? We'll be joined by Wayne, and let's say good evening to some of you guys. It's a Monday night, and it's been a hectic day for me. Sometimes we are tired sometimes as talk show hosts, I'm speaking personally, I've been doing this for quite a while. Sometimes it's not easy to be on. We need some rest sometimes. We need to shave and all manner of things. Keith Beresford, thank you so much, sir. June Daniels, thank you for the compliments, guys. We have Miss Billy. Who's Billy? Hey, Billy. Brenda Billy. Lily Gulliver, good evening to every single one of you guys. And now, how do you feel? How do you guys feel, Miss Ann John? How do you guys feel about the broken promise by the PPP about free education at the university level? How do you guys feel about that? That's one thing we can talk about that. How exactly do you guys feel about that? And look, someone reminded me while you guys put your comments about this, that the PNC are organizations in the US. They need to be working. Are they really working? What are the signs or evidence that they are working? We don't know. I don't know. We hardly see anything other than when the leader or some other executives of the PNC are up here. That's the only time some of them organize a quick little meeting. Sometimes it becomes a gathering. Sometimes it becomes a little show. And sometimes it's effective, mind you. And so this was brought to my attention. 2012, we were protesting team, a protesting team getting all fired up to expose the corrupt PPP regime in Washington, D.C. We protested in front of the White House. We protested in front of the State Department of State, and all different places we protested. We just didn't sit down. We didn't just procrastinate it. We just didn't do that. We were out there protesting and protesting and protesting and exposing the PPPC regime. That's just what we have been doing. Here it is. We have Mr. Wade Caesar. He has on his green T-shirt. Green T-shirt. Good evening, sir. How was your weekend?
Good evening, Mark, and good evening to all our listeners and viewers. Mark, it's not just a green T-shirt. It's a green T-shirt that says, my body is here, but my mind is in Guyana.
Why when you said that, you remained very quiet and you looked around to make sure nobody else in hearing?
No, I didn't look around.
I'm pretty sure you did.
I'm quite comfortable.
Your mind is here, but your body is in Guyana.
My body is here, but my mind is in Guyana.
Gotcha. Your body is here, but your mind is in Guyana. Just before you came on, Mr. Caesar, I was just thanking you because we are not completed as yet. We still have a lot of other areas to reach out, persons who reached out to us. We are now ensuring that our contacts on the ground get to these individuals, kids who are really in need. And so I just want to take this time out to thank you for your hard work behind the scene as well. And I want to thank, as I have done earlier, the donors who have made this possible through the Ben Sharp Foundation. And a couple of folks, Joelle, and we also are very appreciative for Miss Ronaldo for what she has done, and others, including our good friend, Miss Brenda Casey, who is listening this evening as well. What is your take, Mr. Caesar? And thanks again. We're still doing a lot of work behind the scene. But what is your take, Mr. Caesar? I know you have opened on this before many times that the PPPC has promised free education at the university level. Over 3 years ago, they said they're going to make it free, but nothing at all. Your take on that, sir?
Well, listen, Mark, we all know that, students having to pay for an education at the University of Guyana is a breach of our constitution, because the constitution does say free education from nursery through university. And we have been charging people through their noses over the last few years. Since when? 1994, the PPP started charging our students in Guyana for university education. Now, look, Mark, we're in an oil economy now. There's a lot of money passing through the country. What's the need now? What's the reason behind having students pay for university now? We can afford to offset, with the oil revenue, we can offset, students having to pay for university, in this country. And it's shame. It just shows you, Mark, that this government is not for the people. Okay, they're stymieing the process of young people being able to be educated, because an educated country can challenge a government. Okay, not saying that a country that is not fully educated cannot challenge a government, but an educated country can really challenge and question a lot of the things that, the government does. And they don't want that. Listen, the PPPC must be the past, they must be the present, and they must be the future. And Mark, why I say they must be the past, the present, and the future is because I'm very, very upset the fact that we would have lost 8 young people on the roadways over the weekend. That is a crying shame.
Mr. Caesar, I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's horrific. And something is happening in that country. I don't know, maybe CFAR folks like Francine Cruz and all the others out there can tell us what exactly is happening. But Francine has a point here, as do many of you out there as well. But this is up your alleyway, Wayne, because you've been calling on this voters list to be cleansed at GCOM. Francine Cruz is saying, if you can't get free election, how do you expect to get free education? Good point there, Francine. Francine makes some good points sometimes. If you can get free elections, how can you get free education? And just before you respond to that, Mr. Caesar, tomorrow, 11 o'clock in the morning, that is, there's a protest in front of GCOM. 11 o'clock tomorrow. Head out there, guys. Go ahead, Mr. Caesar. Over to you.
Well, Francine is making an awesome point here. If you can't get free election, how do you expect to get free education? And listen, she is right on the mark here, because, Mark, with this current installed regime in place, we need to have free, fair elections with a clean list, that all Guyanese could go out there and execute their democratic right. There would not be an opportunity for people in Guyana to get a free university education under the PPP. The PPPC is an illegal business machine. Okay, it's a machine that just picks up money. That's all they're interested in, monies. Monies must come from all over the place. You know, they're not looking to give the Guyanese people a tax break or anything like that. Listen, this is not a people-centric government. So the people are not even thought about here, Mark. It's just where the deals can be done. Where can we have external labor? Where can we get 1,200 nurses to replace our nurses, or to replace the openings that we have in place at our hospitals across the country, while you close down the nursing school in Linden that has pushed out so many excellent nurses? So the PPPC right now, they're just bringing in their voters. This is what's happening. It's not 1,200, it's 1,200 nurses, but technically it's 1,200 voters, you know, to make up for where they would have fallen short at the 2020 regional and general elections, Mark. So all they're doing is filling that void that you always put up there with those ballot boxes that was stuffed and everything. They have the number. They have a target, Mark, and they know where they're aiming for.
How to rig, indeed. They have a target, and that is why if the people had gone out in their numbers to vote to give the coalition a second term in office, it was almost impossible for the PPP to rig the elections. Because it was so close, of course, the coalition won by at least 2 seats minimum. But if all the people had gone out in their numbers, coalition supporters in their numbers to vote, it would have been impossible for the PPP to cheat. And let's not be fooled. I know by now you guys, all of you guys know that the PPP cheated. The PPP rigged the 2020 elections right in front of the faces of those workers at GCOM. And then they turned the script around to blame it and make it appear that the coalition won. And here is where we're going to break it down again. We're going to break it down in this way, that if we heard that the PPP were asking and jumping on the mountaintop, show your SOPs, show your SOPs. I don't know, there's no calypso like that. Maybe we can ask Brenda Casey, Francine Cruz, and Bernadette James, and Ingrid Carter to come up with a calypso. Show your, the 4 of them could sing together. Show your SOPs. That is what the PPP and their supporters were chanting. Show your SOPs, because in the SOPs would show everything. And they were saying that the coalition rigged the SOPs. Now the PPP is in office to install means. They don't want to show the coalition's SOPs anymore. They don't. For all of the PPP people who are watching right now, don't you see that? Don't you guys see that as highly suspicious as to why the PPP, who are in control right now, do not want to show the AFC, APNU SOPs at all. The other thing that they don't want They don't want the elections petitions to be heard. That is why they kept fighting and fighting and fighting. You know why? Obviously, you know why. Tell them why, Mr. Caesar. You think that the
Well,
PPP is hiding these things?
well, Mark, they're hiding these things because they are the people who would have rigged the election. And it's funny how many of their supporters continue with the same chant, fully and well knowing, because hey, listen, if you didn't rig an election, you would want to totally eliminate the party that would have done so. Therefore, you would have allowed the petitions to be heard and those boxes to be opened, so that we can see the contents, and you would have totally eliminated the opposition, and it would have been just you there. And people would not have ever really voted for the opposition again. And you would have got your 35 years that you want to be in power in Guyana. You would have gotten that. But you guys know what would have occurred, right? And what would have occurred didn't exactly happen in GCOM. The rigging was done at the polling stations. The rigging was done again at the polling stations. They had their people in there, and they know what they would have done. And if the PPPC was able to rig an election being out of government, the coalition really, really have to be clicking on all their cylinders here, because now the PPPC is in government. So just go figure what they're going to do. And listen, again, I keep saying this all the time, Mark. We are getting so close to these elections. We think it's way out there. Elections is right on top of us. By the time we blink 2 times, it's going to be that time. And we're not seeing no movement, Mark, when it comes to a new list. And, this is concerning because, listen, this has to be a dictatorship because, listen, people are not even being allowed their democratic right, Mark, to vote with a clean list. They're saying, no, we're going to use what's here. And we have the wherewithal. We have the monies. We're going to parliament so much and asking for money every time we go to parliament.
And
Allocate some
money too,
funds to
Mr.
GCOM.
Caesar. The monies, these crooks in office, these PPP criminals, the Jack Dave and the Irfan and all of them, a pack of criminals. That's who they are. Now, they ask for money and they just steal the money. But the coalition supporters, when their protests called to gather in front of GCOM in their numbers, only 12 torn up, 13 torn up, 10 torn up, 15 torn up, 20 torn up. And that's it. What if they see thousands of people, 5,000 of people? You telling me that the coalition doesn't have 5,000 people?
Mark, the coalition.
5,000 people the coalition doesn't have that they can't bring out, just like in 1999, 1997, 2000, 2001, 2002. They can't bring 5,000 people in front of GCOM for an entire week. They can't cripple Georgetown with a protest. I mean, somebody out there might be saying, Mark, shut your blasted mouth. Why you don't come home and do it? It's not for me to do it. This is our country's future that has been hijacked by the PPP criminals and some of their friends from overseas who allow them to be in office. And that is why ExxonMobil is just transferring all of the wealth, the oil wealth, out of the country, billions upon billions of dollars. But nobody seems to be doing anything. Nobody really wants to bell the cat. Everybody's playing the cautious politics, don't want to offend this buddy. Some don't want to offend Exxon. Some don't want to offend these criminals in office. Some don't want to offend. In politics, you got to take risks. You got to take chances. And it doesn't matter if you end up one day with a mugshot. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, what Mark, you use a key word there, risk. When you take risk, for the most part, there is reward. And I agree with you. Some type of risk need to be taken. We just cannot continue down this road. And does the coalition have 5,000 supporters? Yes, they have way more than 5,000 supporters. But listen, in order to get people out there, they first need to be empowered. All right. They need to be sold on the reason for them coming out there to protest. And I mean, we've been trying to do it from afar here, but I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the ground. And, you know, Miss Robin Simon, when we was on last Friday, she would have really said it very well. That, you know, we can't stay from in the opposition party and play monopoly with the PPPC. We have to understand, Mark, that we are representing a people. And we have to get out there, we have to get on the ground, and we have to empower these people. These people cannot be empowered through parliament by us going to parliament. No.
You know, in terms of the opposition, my opinion of the opposition, in the event that you want to get these vagabonds, these criminals in the PPP out of office next elections, the opposition need all of them in the opposition, whether it's the APNU, AFC, I don't even know what the APNU is, but all of them need to just go somewhere, take a weekend off, sit down, iron out their differences, and say this is going to be the approach in confronting the PPP regime. But we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is one set pulling this side, the other set pulling this side, the other set pulling this side, the other set pulling. And so when you have everybody just chipping away at this chain, the link, it becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. And your political opponents, them, as weak as they are, as weak as the PPP is, the PPP, don't be fooled, guys, the PPP is extremely weak. They are weak, they can be beaten. But how the opposition is operating right now, they are making it impossible to even beat the PPP. It is a possibility. The PPP is getting billions of dollars in oil wealth. And every day people are crying out in that country, even their own supporters. Cost of living is high. I believe some plantains or bread and all these things gone up. Flour gone up. You can't even make mitai. The price of mitai gone up. The price of pulori gone up. The price of barro gone up. The price of pera gone up. The price of fudge gone up. The price of ingredients of mahambog gone up. Parasat, the same thing. Even to hold a jandi or any religious service, it is so difficult right now in that country that is supposed to be oil wealth. We're supposed to be rich. We're supposed to be Dubai. I don't know what's happening. Over to you, Mr. Caesar.
Mark, all those points you would have just made, we would have made those points over and over to the people. We would have appealed to the people. We would have appealed to the opposition. You know, I think we're now to the point as, hey, where are we going now? What's our vision? What's our goals for the next 2 years? You know, what's our strategy in getting a new voters list? And to be honest with you, we should not be strategizing about that right now. It should have already been done. We need to have a direct approach. And listen, Mark, if you ask me what my approach would be, you see them big pots that you use for wake and all these kind of things, wedding and all these type of things down in Guyana there. Man, I would show up in the thousands there in front of GCOM and in front of the courts also. Because, Mark, listen, I feel that if you're going to protest GCOM, you have anywhere between 5,000 and 8,000 people in front of GCOM, and you have the same amount in front of the courts. You know why, Mark? Order 60 should have never said that government. That government should have never been seated with Order 60. And that's the court's fault. Okay? And therefore, the people have a right to protest the court also. And just shut the place down. We cook, we do everything right there.
We're gone past the courts right now, right? Because they have an elections petition, but I get your point. But we do have an elections petition that is in the courts of appeal. And the court of appeals, they're not rendering a decision in the matter. And those in the opposition are quiet about it. But when you call them out, they vex. They vex. Look, Dennis Atwell is making a point that when we hit the streets, back in my days when I had all my protesting boots, but I'm retired now. I'm a semi-retiree protester, right? It is to those who are on the ground. We are giving you guys the fuel. We are giving you guys we are attempting to motivate you guys to go out there and do what is right. We're not seeing that. The opposition, the members of parliament, they come out 1 week and then they're gone and they disappear and they're tired and they got to go on vacation. They got to go and store up some pot to cook up somewhere. And that's it. That's what politics turned to now. And everybody is fighting to be the presidential candidate. Everybody wants to be the prime ministerial candidate. And that's where this tussle is. That's where this struggle is all about. It's all about positions of these people. Nobody wants to be humble. Nobody wants to, I'm not saying that all of them are like that, mind you, but nobody wants to sit back and say, you know what, let Wayne be the person that we are going to support. Or let Brenda, or let Ann John, or Shondell Griffith, or Bernadette, or Teresa, or Dennis Atwell, or whomever. Let us put our support behind them 100%, and so forth and so on. All we're seeing is the fight here, the fight there, and who could do this. And look, I have gotten tired of that right now. And if I have gotten tired, you can just imagine the support base of the coalition. Hence my reason for saying that if you're going to pull away in separate corners and expect to defeat these criminals in office next elections, you might as well just put your hands up and say no. I'm not saying that people should surrender at all, but you've got to have unity. And there is strength in unity. Without strength, there's no unity. Without unity, you cannot get where you want to be politically. You'll just have to keep stirring pots and pots of foods every week. Over to you, sir.
You know, Mark, the posture of the opposition, if the people would follow that posture, they would be very calm and controlled. I personally know there are leaders within many of the communities across Guyana, outside of just the opposition. And I think those leaders within the communities may be forced to take the lead, because we are talking about critical times here. You cannot afford for the PPPC to show up there in 2025 and get another 5 years, because then Guyana is surely, finished with. And I would look at coming on this show here and trying to get to the people as a complete failure. So, listen, we have to step up. I know I've been calling on the people to step up. I know a lot of individuals, Mark, are in fear. But if you're in fear now and you do absolutely nothing, you will be in fear for the rest of your life as long as you are in Guyana. Because this is what this government is about. Putting fear into our people, gaining control of all the industries. When you have control, Mark, when you have ultimate control of all the industries, which I would call, like absolute power, then you would be able to control the people. There is no way that they can go anywhere, any way they move, you're there. So, we have to be careful, Mark.
In politics, you want
Yes.
you want to work with the people. You want to be with the people. You don't want to be in politics to control the people, because people do not want to be controlled. I don't want to be controlled by my politicians them. I don't want to be controlled by my political leaders, because it's the people who put them in office and they work for the people. And when they get in there, in office, whether they're mayors, deputy mayors, they're prime ministers, they're presidents, they are servants of the people and they work on behalf of the people. And by virtue of that, they have to do things for the people. When they go and they do things for the people, when they build a road, it is not a favor they're doing there. It is their obligation, because it's the people's monies, it's the taxpayers' money that they're using to do these things. So they have to build roads, they have to put on lights, they have to get the infrastructure going, they have to build schools and these sort of things. So it's not a favor that they're doing to the people. And we've got to move away from the mindset that we're seeing right now, that people, some of them are PPP supporters, believe that Irfan's Ali money, is Jack their money, and them a take the money, and them a build latrine, them a build road, them a build this. It is your money. It is taxpayers' money. It belongs to all of us who are paying taxes. It doesn't belong to Jack Deere or Irfan them. Of course, they're thieving the money, and they're taking hundreds of millions of dollars and give it to their friends and their cronies. But at the end of the day, if they go into Sophia and they put down one little road, they're not doing you a favor. That is what you, well, in this case, they cheated their way. But that is what you hire politicians to do. These politicians, MPs in the opposition, when they come into your community to listen to your plights, to listen to your problems, and try to fight for your rights and fight for your interests, they're not doing you a favor. You have placed them there. They work for you. And therefore, don't let any of them, whether these pacus in the regime, the PPP regime, or whether it is some of these lazy politicians in the opposition. They got some of them in the opposition feel that you got to beg them, man, come in the area, no, man. Man, when you come in and see me, man, come now. All right, I can come next week. I can see if I can come. These guys in the opposition got to get their goddamn acts together too. If they want to become effective leaders, if they want to become effective government officials, because that is why they're in the opposition. They're preparing themselves to take over a government. And it is my hope that they do take over a government, because God knows Guyana needs a proper government. What we have right now is a mafia entity. It is a criminal enterprise headed by Jagdev and Irfan Ali. Over to you, Mr. Caesar.
Okay.
As you would say.
Okay, so Mark, that was well put. Calling the opposition out on these issues. I am going to take a little bit of a different approach here, because yes, I agree with you, Mark, that government is put in place to serve the people. But when you look at a government that is an installed government that is in place to serve the people, and there was a judgment that was made against ExxonMobil that they need to pay, a certain amount in insurance to cover, in the event that there's an oil spill in Guyana, which would totally cripple our country. We just don't have the monies necessary to do an oil cleanup. Although we are gaining some revenue from the oil, I feel not enough, but we're gaining something, right? And you have a government that would go to court and appeal that decision. Tell me if that government care about their citizenry. They care about their people that they were put in place there to serve. Mark, with all honesty, the PPPC needs to disappear. They are a total disgrace.
And their own supporters, Mr. Caesar. Good point. Their own supporters are seeing right through them again. It is not because they don't know the corrupt bastards in the PPP. They know them. Even the people sitting in Antigua, the Guyanese sitting in Antigua right now, know that. And hi to the folks out from Antigua and in Antigua who are listening to us. Guyanese all over the Caribbean as well. They know that too. But if we take a close look as to how the sugar workers, don't think for a moment that the sugar workers don't know that these PPP guys are bandits, Don't think for a moment that the sugar workers don't know that the PPP guys, whether the head of the acting chairman or the acting CEO of Gaisuko, Saisnarayan Singh, known as the turnaround expert, he promised to turn Gaisuko around. He promised to make the industry great again, but instead he is making himself great. He was never great. And all these guys are doing is monies and monies and monies, and the ordinary sugar workers are punishing every day. They did that to them before they got out of office in 2015, where the sugar industry was almost dead. It is the coalition government that revived that industry and took it to another level and not leave the sugar workers and their families outside in the cold. The coalition government realized then that they need to reach out to families in general, including family members of sugar workers that the PPP neglected for many years. That is why they had these free school buses, free transportation, of course, free meals, breakfast, and so forth. And more things were coming under the coalition government until they were actually cheated out of office. They were forced out of office by some of these guys, these so-called big guys in there who are milking the country with billions and billions of dollars, and nothing is trickling down to the ordinary people, regardless of their ethnicity. The people in Blackbush Polar are not comfortable today under the PPP. The people at Port Morant are not comfortable today under the PPP. The people in Corriverton are not comfortable today under the PPP. The people in Monrepo are not comfortable under the PPP at all. You talk with the rice farmers at Blackbush Polar. Drainage and irrigation is the worst that it has ever been under the PPP regime, but yet they boast and brag that Guyana is a little Dubai, and I don't know if they mean Dubai there, but Guyana is nothing close to becoming a little Dubai. Putting up a little roundabout where they cheated taxpayers of millions of dollars, and they put up some kind of monkey-looking bird up there and call it class. It's nothing classy about that, my friends, until all of the Guyanese people get to realize that Guyana can only be able to breathe again when we see the backs of these corrupt Nimakarams, these corrupt Chamars, these corrupt Katahar, these corrupt Tere Kabur, Nanika Chodorka, and those who know the rest of that can conclude. Over to you, Mr. Caesar. Over to you, sir.
You know, Mark, as an oil-producing nation, as a nation where people feel that it is healthy enough to come and settle and to live, we need to up it when it comes to our immigration policies. You have the Venezuelans walking in and out. You know, if there are a portion of Venezuelans that wants to migrate to Guyana, it should be done the correct way. People should not just walk into, the country and become a citizen right away. I know there's something in the Constitution addressing that, but that would need to be amended. All right, we are there now. We're an oil-producing nation. We are relevant. We need to up our game, and that's where we miss a leader with vision, like a Lyndon Forbes, Samson Barnum, because that is what he would have done. He felt that Guyana was good enough to be playing with the big boys. Hence the reason he took some of the positions that he would have took. But these guys that we have sitting there right now, this installed government, they are visionless. All they can see is money, and they are seeking to get control. They're even seeking to infiltrate the army. And people are sitting down, all these ABC countries, amongst them the US, the UK, Canada, they're all sitting down, Mark, and looking in, and they're not seeing what's going on. Listen, this is behaviors, Mark, that resembles a dictatorship. These are behaviors that resembles a dictatorship, but these guys, their bottom line is being satisfied. So therefore, they don't care. They look and they say, okay, less than 1 million people. Okay, that's not our concern. Let them deal with it. That's why I'm saying the Guyanese people are the only ones who can take care of this. No one, Mark, will come to their aid. I can see it already. It will not happen. It will not happen. Don't worry about who's going to the U.S. State Department and all of that, Mark. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense.
We have a trench here. And this, I'm not sure if Davis Armagon is related to one of those PPP cronies out in Borbies, Dennis Armagon. But if Davis Armagon is related to Dennis Armagon on the quarantine, the PPP lackey out there, who was once regional chairman, probably still is, Davis Armagon is saying, and I'm assuming that he's talking about us or maybe himself, he said, you guys are a joke. Just like that. Nothing to back it up. Nothing at all. Because I'm sure if Davis Armagon is related to Dennis Armagon, they're just welfare recipients. And I say welfare recipients because they are getting millions upon millions of taxpayers' monies and living off the fat and the hard work and the sweat of the Guyanese people. So that is why it's easy for Davis Armagon and others, without any facts, to come and say that people are joke because we are exposing the corrupt and criminal nature of the PPPC regime and the racist nature of the PPPC regime. Now, I want
Mark,
Davis
Mark,
Armagan, I want Davis Armagan and others to take a look, and I want them to say whether these rice or cane harvester, cane cutter, I call them a quarantine, right, Davis? Cane cutter, I call them. I want him to call or to say whether these cane cutters are joke. But before, Mr. Caesar, you have something to say? Go ahead, sir.
yeah, no, I must address this guy here. You see, listen, Mark, this man can come and say what he's saying here. Because if when the opposition was in power for those 5 years or 3+ years or whatever, if they would have oppressed these people and marginalized them, he would not have had the position that he has here right now. He would not have taken this position, because then he would have had some experience as to what it means to be oppressed and marginalized. You see, they've never experienced these things, because you know what? The PNCR, the coalition as a whole, Mark, is an Afro-Guyanese dominated party. And when you have Afro-Guyanese at the hem of anything, you are going to see love. Love is going to be expressed, because we would have known what about our foreparents would have went through. We would have known what even some of us would have went through. You know, so these guys here, you know, they don't have conscience. They don't care about people. All they care about is the few shillings that they're getting, whatever is trickling down from this government to them. So
yeah,
this guy, David Armagon, he could go and take a seat and just be quiet.
One of the things, and enough of him, one of the things that I've learned over the years, though, as it pertains to human nature in general, there are a lot of, quite a few of African Guyanese people who will sell their birthrights out and have sold their birthrights out to the devil. That's the Jack Deo and Irfan and these goons in the PPP. But one of the things that I have learned, and I'm seeing the evidence that is there, that there are a lot of our Indian brothers and sisters who are being treated like worse than indentured servants, worse than slaves in Guyana. They are being targeted as well. And so in order to get rid on elections day of this corrupt PPP regime, all hands have to be on deck. All of our brothers, regardless of African, Indian, it doesn't matter. And tonight we're calling on all, and because we already know that there are lots of our Indian brothers and sisters from Guyana do listen to this program every night. Jamal Aziz, one such family, and I oftentimes point him out and mention him and his family, what the PPP did to them at Bushlat village. Burnt their butcher shop down, target them, persecuted them, all because they are supporters of the coalition. To this day, this family can't recover. And I am almost certain that there are hundreds, probably thousands of others like Mr. Jamal Aziz who want to see the back of the PPPC regime because they know that the PPPC is no good for Guyana. And as I was saying, Mr. Caesar, earlier, let's take a look at the sugar workers. The sugar workers are feeling this way. The rice farmers are next. They are going to be coming out and protest in their droves, in their numbers, because they are being oppressed too. It's just a matter of time for them to come out. Take a listen again, Mr. Caesar and others, what the sugar workers did in Berbice to the PPPC regime. heard that that was they were out in New Amsterdam protesting, I believe, Freedom House that they built and repainted now with taxpayers' monies. Those sugar workers, kudos to them. We wish that more sugar workers can come out and shut the estates down because it's a waste of time. The billions of dollars, that taxpayers' dollars that they're taking and pump into the sugar industry through Gaisuco, 99% of that amount of money budgeted for Gaisuco and stolen back from Parliament to Gaisuco, they're not even going to the ordinary workers. That is why those ordinary workers are out there saying no money, no work, no money, no work, because the PPPC does not give them any money. The PPPC does not care about those sugar workers. But not only should we see the sugar workers going out and protest, the rice farmers should go out and protest. The bauxite workers should shut the industry down because those bauxite workers, whether they're from Ituni, whether they're from Kokwani in Linden or Old England, wherever they're from, they are being treated worse than the sugar workers. But yet they are afraid, I would assume, to come out and protest. We want to see the bauxite workers come out and protest for better treatment, better salary, and better everything. But the sugar workers now, take a look at this, whenever they come out to protest, they're being treated properly. We see the police basically talking to them, and I can't go. But when the bauxite workers protest, policemen are there with big guns, big machine guns, and in some cases they're brutalized. And in some cases, they slaughter protesters when it comes to protesters from other ethnicity. Now, I'm not saying that they should do that to our Indian brothers and sisters who formed part of sugar workers. And mind you, sugar workers are not just East Indian Guyanese. There are lots of African Guyanese who are sugar workers as well, who are feeling the squeeze. And so at some point in time, all the people of Guyana, whether their foreparents are from Africa, India, or wherever they're from, need to join hands and cripple this corrupt PPP regime. Without that, we're just not going to get anywhere. But as you usually say, Mr. Caesar, over to you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Mark. You know, when we have these protests, Mark, we tend to have these protests with just a certain faction would come out and protest. We need to have the teachers, the nurses, the public servants, the sugar workers, the rice farmers, the bauxite workers, to all come out as a collective and protest and send a message to this government. Listen, we are not living, at least I hope, we are not living in colonial times anymore. This is the 21st century here. All right. There's a lot of us out here who are very, very educated. You cannot trick us. Okay. You cannot get by us with nonsense, especially if you on the other end, meaning the PPPC, is uneducated. So you're not going to get past us. Let me be frank here. The PPPC was installed and put in place, Mark, to facilitate the extraction of wealth from Guyana. That is what they were put in place for. All right. This oil boom, and I said it before, I'm going to say it again. This oil boom, Mark, is not going to last for more than 20 years. I can tell you that. I can sit here and tell you that straight up, that it will not last for more than 20 years. There is a shelf life, not on oil in general, but there is a shelf life, Mark, on the oil boom. The way alternative energy is going, the way these electric cars are building out, the way we are moving to, our cooking stoves being electric instead of natural gas, right? Which is an extract from the oil. Listen, this is not going to last for a long time, Mark. That's why everybody is just coming in, grabbing what they can and get rich. And that is how the rich people that you see in this world, that's how they get rich. When something is booming, Mark, they are all in. and they get what they have to get and establish themselves, extract what they have to extract. And that's the way it has been. And, Jagdi and the rest of them will be paid handsomely. And we have to step up as a people, man. Right? We know that this installed government that is in place right now is not for the people. So then you have to try, a new government. That's why I'm encouraging all on sundry to come on board and let's vote for change. Whether it's snap election, whether it's 2025, we need change in Guyana. There is no recovery mode now for this installed government. They've already had 3 years. We see what have happened over the 3 years. Lawlessness, death, the country's cursed, man. It's blood across Guyana every single week. I want somebody tell me a week when we have not experienced bloodshed across Guyana, a country that has less than 1 million people. It's a crying shame. This government have no shame. And I listen, I am not going to call this a government, these hooligans, because for us to lose 8 young people over the weekend and nobody came forth to, hold a press conference on this, it's quite concerning to me. It just shows the level of lawlessness and that, the lives of these young individuals is not given the worth that it should be given. And Mark, I have one thing to ask. I would have understood that one of the drivers of one of the vehicles was 17 years old. Can you tell me what a 17-year-old is doing with a driver's license if he possesses one? Or what a 17-year-old is doing behind the wheel?
I think the age for that is about 16 or so. Just like other parts in the US, it's either 15 for learner's permit, 16 or 17 for driver's license as well. But the big problem in Guyana, though, Mr. Caesar and others, is the drivers, the quality of drivers that we have. A lot of those, the license bookers, whatever they call it there in Guyana, a lot of these guys, they haven't gone. They didn't do a proper road test. You could pass some money to police. You could pay something for your exams, for you to pass your exams. And corruption is galore. Until we strengthen that area and we go after those in authority, go after those corrupt traffic police who allow individuals to cheat and pass their exams, whether they're 17, 18, whatever. I'm not saying all, but a heck of a lot of people paid for their licenses. They do not even know the traffic laws. They do not even know when to slow down. They do not know when to stop. They do not know how to operate a vehicle properly. They overtake and then they go in front of. It's just a wild west, and a lot of blame has to be placed at the doorstep of the Guyana police force who allow this corruption to happen. There are some individuals also in GCOM who allow that. You walk in and you pay and you get your license. Pay and you get your license. So when these guys go out to drive, they don't know what they're going to do. They just stare, press the gas, and they just stare. And all manner of things in terms of most of the accidents that you see. It's as a result, put aside alcohol, some. Put aside alcohol, it's as a result of bad judgment. They speed up and then they turn and then they overtake. Bad judgment because they just never learned to drive properly. Heading back to what you said, Mr. Caesar, about the oil companies and the others extracting things. Oftentimes when I see how Guyana is being raped, good evening to Dharamlal. Good evening to Dharamlal. How Guyana is being raped. You know what comes to mind? This song comes to mind, seriously, because this is exactly what's happening to Guyana right now by these big companies.
Yeah, 1,000 things. Original Gulliver. How I do them? Yeah. Every girl want to walk off of me. Every girl want to walk off of me. Every girl never do.
Well, that is exactly what is happening in Guyana. And the purpose for that song is basically saying, Guyana, has become exactly what Golly Bob was singing. And Golly Bob seemed to be down right now. We just wish him all the best. But outside of that, Guyana is exactly what Golly Bob has been singing. Everybody want to walk off of Guyana. Everybody want a piece off of Guyana. Everybody want a isle off of Guyana. Everybody want a gold off of Guyana. Everybody want the bauxite off of Guyana. Everybody want the gal them from Guyana. Everybody just want a piece off of Guyana. But everybody's taking the piece out of Guyana. They're taking the gold out of Guyana. And they got some Guyanese smuggling the gold out of Guyana, just like they're smuggling the girls them out of Guyana. They're smuggling the bauxite out of Guyana. It's being undervalued by Rusal, the Russian company. The oil is being drained out of Guyana, and nothing is left for Guyana. Absolutely nothing. The only enjoyment some people, mind you, not everybody, but some people can get right now in Guyana is when they go around the cathedral and they stop. That's all. Outside of that, there's nothing else Guyanese can look for. And now I'm not promoting the cathedral, mind you, all right? But, putting all fun and joke aside, everything is being taken out of Guyana. Every single thing out of Guyana. Because what? Right now, everybody wants a piece off of Guyana. You got Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of Trinidad and of the UK. He gone to Guyana, him and his wife, to see what can happen there. Everybody's going to Guyana right now. Not because they love Guyana. They're going to Guyana because what? They want a piece out of Guyana. Everybody wants a piece out of Guyana. But nobody's talking about taking the hundreds of millions and build and build our sports facilities, pay our sportsmen and women better, treat them better, so that when we sit and we watch other countries and islands like Jamaica, well, big up to the Jamaicans and them, right? And no jealousy there. But we want to see our own athletes there as well, running the 100 meters, beating these people in 100 meters. 400 meters. It must be competitive. Our boxers must be treated properly. You can't have our boxers willing and want to go to the Olympics, cannot get support from the old goddamn regime who got billions of dollars of oil wealth, and a questionable businessman is paying for that athlete to go to Olympics. We are not comfortable with that. The regime, our oil resources should be spending on our athletes. It should not be left for questionable and controversial and corrupt businessmen and women to do that. A nation cannot be run like that at all. What is going to be left? But when we go at the market, greens gone up, flour gone up, sugar gone up, everything gone up. Blood pressure gone up. Unemployment is the highest it has ever been. Everybody's frustrated in the country, whether they're PPP supporters, whether they're PNC supporters, or whether they're supporters from the other smaller parties, or whether they're not, people do not support a political party at all. People are suffering in Guyana. Everyone is suffering in Guyana. It is a shame and a disgrace. But watch out for tomorrow. If they get more than 50 people at that protest tomorrow, and I will be counting them, if they get more than 50, that's a lot. Please be reminded that they have a protest in front of GCOM tomorrow from 11 o'clock. Okay, when you tell them 11:30, they're going to show up 12:30. 11 o'clock. I can almost tell you who's going to be there first. Rhonda Lane is going to be there first. All of them were talking in Guyana. Oh, Mark, why you don't come back? Oh, Mark and Wayne, why you talk for? I bet they wouldn't even go there tomorrow because they're afraid. They want a Ben Sharp to go back there and protest for them. But you've got to be able to bell the cat, remove the fear away from you. It doesn't matter. You're fighting not only for your current situation, but your kids' future, your grandkids' future. I don't know. Over to you, Mr. Caesar. Over to you, sir.
Mark, you made a whole lot of good points there. That was a lot there. But I wanna touch a bit on our athletes. I know Guyana have some great athletes. We've always had pretty good sprinters, but the support, they have not received that support from governments over the years. Also, we have pretty good basketball players, and soccer is a big thing in Guyana. I noticed, though, that cricket always seems to be the one supported more so, than the other sports across Guyana. But we have enough money now that we can build out big swimming pools, amongst other things, to support our swimmers. We need to support our boxers. A lot of time, the boxers find themselves paying a lot of fees and are getting stuck in other countries, visa issues, amongst other things. These are things that needs to be addressed, by Charles Ramson and youth culture and sport. They need to address these type of things. It shouldn't be happening. But listen, I know that this government is not going to address those things. But Mark, I say this so that the incoming, because I'm expecting change, the incoming government would look back and listen on the things that we would have spoken here and would make sure that these things are addressed. Because, Mark, one of the things that I would be looking for a new government to put in place just about immediately is to free up University. It should be free of cost. That would be a big boost to the people of Guyana, because then our literacy level is gonna move in the right direction. People are gonna be able to educate themselves. They're gonna understand that going to high school in Guyana could springboard them to a free university education. But some people may not even want to worry too much about high school because they know that their parents can't afford university, and after high school, no matter how much CXCs they would have gotten, that they have to go and work. And that that chance to attend university would have been eliminated just based, Mark, on the pricing. And that's a crying shame. That's a crying shame. And this government sits there and try to act like if they care about people. Irfan Ali the other day speaking about he have women and children at heart, Mark. This guy contradicts himself so much. You bulldoze people at Hillfoot. You bulldoze people at Moko. And there's another area that they would have bulldozed the people also. I think it's Jetty something it's called. I'm not sure on the name. But they're trying to move the people from there also. This is this government.
They've done so to the people in Linden, Amelia's ward as well. And this is a man who claims that he cares about people. Irfan Ali is a hooligan. He's a thug. Example.
In specific fields, there will be a booth designated to that here tonight. So persons who are unemployed and looking to become employed, they can...
So the people again, example of Irfan Ali being a hooligan and a thug.
In specific fields, there will be a booth designated to that here tonight. So persons who are unemployed and looking to become employed, they can come down here to the Providence National Stadium and they can find out more about how they can improve their skills, how they can become employed, gainfully employed, that is.
We saw the shame in that security guy's face. He was embarrassed. Shame on Irfan Ali. Shame on that guy, Irfan Ali, that hooligan, that political thug. Gosh, 19 fraud charges, banned from entering Canada, all because they were investigating him because of allegations of money laundering and these sort of things. And he sits there as a head of state, selling the country out, giving the country out, have people raping the country, and nothing for the people of Guyana. Absolutely nothing. Then you have another hooligan and a criminal like Barra Jagdeo defending Exxon. The court ruled in favor of the Guyanese people. And that thug, that criminal, Barra Jagdeo, is defending a company that is extracting our natural resource out of Guyana and earning billions upon billions of dollars. And even when you see all those plane loads of people going into Guyana, guess who pays for them? All of the executives of the oil company or companies. Guess who pay? The taxpayers of Guyana. And when you try to book a flight in first class or business class, it is never available because it has gone up. If it used to be $1,400, $1,800, it is $3,500, it is $5,000, and all manner of things. And they're the ones get to book all of those seats out in first class and business class and so forth. And people like us got to travel in pit next to the toilet area for a little $500-$600. But those people that you see in first class are actually flying first class, compliments of the hardworking people of Guyana. I don't know. I've got to go. I really got to go. But before I go, though, let me just say some people have been asking. Sarah Lynch is still in Guyana, right? She's the outgoing U.S. ambassador. September, there will be a new U.S. ambassador to Guyana. Her first name is Nicole. Nicole will be there. We'll talk about that more. But before we go, Wayne Caesar, over to you, sir.
Yeah. So, Mark, I just heard you talk about, being unable to book first class on a flight coming into Guyana. And, that lead me to something else, that it's hard to book a room also at the Marriott Hotel that would have been built with Guyanese taxpayers' dollars and is a profit-making asset, which is a good thing for the taxpayers because it would have been their money. Their monies that would have built it. I mean, if Barry Jagdeo wanted to, he could have went into his own pocket and built a Marriott instead of taking the Guyanese people's money.
But even if he goes into his own pocket, is the Guyanese people money, because
right,
he's
absolutely.
A shameless, ruthless dictator who stole billions of dollars. And these are people who talk about Burnham being the richest man in the world and Burnham this. Jagdeo and Irfan Ali, they make Burnham look like a schoolboy when it comes to money. Burnham never had the money that day. It was propaganda. But look at these thugs. Look at these criminals. Look at what they own. Look at how they operate. Look at how they behave as though they're kings and queens, the two of them. They got to decide which one is the queen.
Well, Mark, you know what? On that little point there, I'm going to put it aside by itself. We're going to deal with that a whole different night. But I am hoping that at some point, I am able to work something out and recapture some of these monies and have it returned back to the state.
Look at these. Look at Jagdeo. Jagdeo got into office. Jagdeo got into office. He had nothing. He used to live in a shop front, a little shop front, like a little room. I prefer to live in my basement because they love to say that we're in basement, right? But yeah, nothing is wrong with that. I can look right now. I'm peeping through my basement. But Jagdeo, where he used to live in a shop front. He used to rent a shop front. Look at what he owns today. Not even his salary. These people live like kings and queens. In the case like Jagdeo, he's living like a queen in Guyana. Look at his house. Compliments of the taxpayers of Guyana. Take a look at his bank account. Do you think these guys declare what they're supposed to be declaring? And then they jump and say, oh, the opposition are not declaring what they're supposed to declare. The opposition are declaring. Look at Irfan Ali, even when he became a minister of housing. Look at his pool house. I bet he could even plunge in the pool with the size that he got. But look at what they do. They take state-owned properties. This house belonged to Gaisuko. They took it, and look, right away he went in there as a minister of housing. And look how they operate. And not only that, the ordinary people can't own a proper piece of land in Guyana. Look at Irfan Ali, lease of state lands. Take a look at this. Lease of state lands by Bharat Jagdeo, who signed this over to Irfan Muhammad Ali. Irfan Muhammad Ali. Lots 33 and 35. Look at it. State lands. Nobody went after them and grabbed it back from them. No. But they want to give people a little piece of thing. A little punchy baby piece of thing. And look at what they call development. Is this development in an oil-rich country? If they want to be compared as little Dubai or whatever it is, let them take a look at the real Dubai. Dubai doesn't even have houses like this for watchmen or watchman. to go and sit down inside. Even the dogs in Dubai live better than how they're attempting to make Guyanese live. And look, this corrupt regime, they're looking at this sort of thing and they're calling it development. Is this development? Is this an oil-rich country where hundreds of nurses and doctors and teachers are walking away because they're not properly paid? Look at the teachers. They have been promised duty-free concessions. They have been promised a piece of house lot and all these manner of things. Ask yourself this question. Have they gotten it? No, they have not. The PPP is a criminal enterprise, and the sooner they're out of Guyana, the sooner they're out of power, the better for all Guyanese, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your political affiliation or your religion, regardless of that. The PPP is a crossing party for the entire nation. Every single day, blood is shedding in the country. Somebody's being chopped up, allegation of somebody committing suicide, road accidents, and all these manner of things. They have nothing in place. You have a corrupt judicial system. You have a corrupt electoral agency, GCOM. You have a corrupt government ministries, housing, you name it, corruption upon corruption upon corruption. Every single day, the deaths on the road and no policies in place, nothing to address the situation. When are they going to get senses in their heads and buy a couple of motorcycles and put some of these cops to parade up and down on their traffic cops on those motorbikes? When are they going to put back another toll station on the Linden-Soesdijk Highway? When are they going to put back another toll station at number 19 road and all these places to generate more money so that these roads can be properly developed? When are they going to start jailing some of these goddamn corrupt cops, some traffic cops and so forth? When are they going to be strong against corruption? We cannot expect that under a corrupt regime. These people breathe corruption for tea, breakfast, and dinner. And as someone said, hey, Mark, majority of Guyana, we have 8 or 750,000 people. And the majority of Guyana is owned by less than 100 people. We can count these people, and 99% of them are PPP thugs. The roads, the lands, all over are owned by these people. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think I have an idea. I'm not going to share that idea, but I do have an idea. The people are fed up. Closing remarks from you, Mr. Caesar. Thank you for your patience.
Mark, and when people are fed up, what do? They rise up. That's what they do.
They
when
pray.
They're fed up,
in Guyana,
they
pray. They
rise
say, Our
up.
Father, who are, oh God, help Abino. Help Abino, God. They rise up spiritually, they rise up electorally, and however other ways they want to interpret it, it's up to them.
Yeah. Yes, no, Mark, you're correct. It's totally up to the people. We can say all we want to say, we can do all we want to do, but it's ultimately up to the people. And, I would hope that the people would have learned something from this. You cannot sit down and allow government to just do what they want to do, or to just allow one person to do what he or she wants to do. And, good example, Barrett Jagdeo. And, listen, like I would have been talking about the Marriott a bit a few minutes ago there. It should not be one man that makes the decision to sell the Marriott. It should be a committee that makes this decision. And I wouldn't understand the decision of that committee, Mark, since it is that the Marriott is a revenue earning asset. And as long as there is oil coming out of Guyana, the Marriott will have a shelf life. And to the extent you're able to develop your tourism, to a certain level, the Marriott is going to always have a shelf life. So I don't see the reasoning behind selling the Marriott, unless, Mark, it was an upfront thing that was done under the table, where you have this guy already in place, but he was told, hey, we're going to take taxpayers' money and we're going to build this out for you. And, down the road, 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, you can come in. By then, you would be allowed to amass your money, whether it is that he's doing exploits out in the US amongst other countries to the PPPC, and they are paying him. And essentially, that Marriott is going to become part of that payment. You see, with corruption, Mark, this is how it's done. It's done a lot of different ways. You can exchange cash, you can exchange, physical assets. And I feel that this is the case here because I see no reason behind selling the Marriott. If you ask me, Mark, I would put up 2 more at the Tamari airport. And I call it Tamari because if you're going to call it Cheddy Jagan, you could call it Cheddy Jagan Tamari, if that's what you're going to call it. But I would have put 2 more hotels there, and I would have put one somewhere in Barbies and probably another one in Georgetown. It's
So why
worth
don't
it.
we just call it a hotel country and done hotels all over the place? What we gonna do with hotel? Why?
Well, Mark,
People
Mark,
want food. People want everything. Everywhere you turn is a hotel. If it's not short term, it's long term. If it's not long term, it's medium term. Hotels all over the country, buddy.
Mark, I'm talking about a proper run country. I'm not talking about under the PPPC here. I'm not talking about under the PPPC here. No, not at all. Anything they put up is for themselves. It's never for the people. There's some type of investment sometimes you have to make for your people. Allow them to, get in the realm and be a part of things. It should not be any segregation between government and the people.
This hotel thing in Guyana, to me, I look at it as a part of money laundering. But I get your point. I don't support the hotels and hotels and hotels, right?
Well, it's called, Mark, in a proper run government, it's called investment. Government should not be too much in the public sector or too much in the business sector. Let's put it this way.
Illegal regime get a hand in everything. They get a hand in backtrack. They get a hand in gold smuggling. They get a hand in death squads. They get a hand in drugs. Everything they get their hand in. They get their hand in sacrifices because you see the bloods all over the country. This is an evil regime we have there. But when it comes to hotels, though, right, I feel that as a Guyanese, if I'm going back to Guyana, we must be safe enough to stay by a house, whether your own house, whether your family house. That is where you get the fun. But I don't want to be stuck up in a hotel room, whether Marriott or wherever, and you get family members coming tomorrow morning to collect the little thing. You put your little track boots, you put your little T-shirts, and family members are coming by. Our country has got to be safe enough to go at Philippi and stay, to go at Cromarty and stay, to go at Alnis and stay, to go in Linden and stay. Too many of us spend some mornings overseas and we want to go back and we want to stay in a hotel, and whether it's a brothel on Brickdam or we stay in a hotel and we enjoy ourselves, mosquito repellent. We know want mosquito bite, we don't want sunlight, it's too hot. Oh, look at that mosquito. Oh, you walk around the market and you're looking at this smell. Come on, guys, y'all wake up. Y'all wake up. Your closing remarks, please, Mr. Caesar.
Well, Mark, what I would like to say, my closing remarks is that, I'm very, very saddened by the death of those 8 young individuals. And, we need to do better on our roadways. We have these big heavy duty vehicles moving and traversing our highways and roadways at night. We need to be careful. We need to exercise the 5 C's, and listen, it's quite concerning that, I find myself here over and over again talking about deaths across the country, and the government is just not moving to address these issues. And I was expecting some type of a press conference, whether it was the Guyana Police Force traffic unit or whether it was, from a government perspective.
Stick a pin right there.
Yes.
They do not care. Stop expecting these things from these pakus in office, these criminals. Stop expecting what should be done. They don't know better. They're a bunch of corrupt individuals. They're crooks, they're bandits, they're hooligans, they're unpatriotic. So stop having these sort of expectations for these people. But you know what? I expected the shadow minister of Home Affairs, for the opposition, of course, to come out and let the opposition call a press conference to say, this is of serious concern for this nation right now. Forget about these pakus in office. Don't expect them to do what's good, Mr. Caesar. They're not going to do it, my friend. They're not going to do it. Sorry that I interrupted you.
No, Mark, that's fine. That's fine. But listen, we need to exercise the 5 C's as we traverse the roadways in Guyana. Let's try to, ease down on, the wildness, the bus drivers, the large vehicle drivers and stuff. Let's handle our vehicles with care, caution, of course. Let's be considerate, show consideration, let's execute courtesy, and let's use our common sense, as we use the road. And, we will see change when it comes to the amount of accidents. Let's slow down a bit, man. It's, Mark, it is lawless from all angles that you look at the country from. This is not what we were accustomed to. We're having vehicular accidents nonstop. We're having, people being shot. Like, we're in a war zone. And hence the reason, Mark, that a lot of people is not going to want to come and stay at homes in Guyana. I'm not, encouraging hotels, because when I go to Guyana, I don't stay at a hotel. I purposely don't stay at a hotel because, being with family is like the best thing, like you said it, Mark. Being with family, going out, and doing your stuff when you're down there is what you want to do. But Mark, with the influx of guns in our country, such a small population, and all the guns you're seeing, all the people you're showing up at the hospitals with gunshot wounds, all the people being killed, government being involved in the funeral home business and all these kind of things. Hey, man, it's not painting a good picture. It is not painting a good picture, because funeral homes is a business that it got to flow. And if bodies ain't coming in, maybe there's a way to make bodies come in. And that is just not right, man.
Yeah.
I better don't hear something like that happening, man, because then it's...
As we look at the time to pull the curtains down, as Mr. Caesar mentioned, guns and guns and guns and guns. Look at what's happening. It's mere guns. And a lot of the guns are in the hands of corrupt criminals of the PPP, disguised as businessmen and all these different things. People, if I had my way, and look, this was since back in the PPP time. This is a guy who was, he died under questionable circumstances at the Georgetown Public Hospital. His name was Mark Kazurki. Kazurki from the Aubrey Wine Bar there on Norton Street, I believe. And look at his friend. Look at his friend. Look at him standing there with Barra Jack Dew and so forth. And so that's what's happening in the country all over again. We're seeing it. People pretending as though they're good and they're nice and all manner of things. And take a look. Take a look at this one here. Take a look at this one here. He tend to preach peace, and he does. I don't know what message he's sending there, but this is the country. This is where Guyana is right now. Every and any lagu bagu got a gun. Even a so-called businessman, whether they're 19 and 18 years old, they get gun license, they get every single thing, and it is dangerous. This country has never been as dangerous as it is right now under the corrupt PPP regime. And at some point in time, I repeat, at some point in time, it has got to stop. One way or the other, it has got to stop. 45 minutes. I can't believe it's so late. 45 minutes after 10 o'clock. 45 minutes after 10 o'clock. The protest is tomorrow, 11:30, in front of GCOM. Come on, guys. Go out there. Usually it's about 25 of you. Make it even 51 tomorrow. or even more than that. Mr. Caesar urged some of your folks them on your Facebook page who are in Guyana to go out. But before that, let me just quickly address. I think I saw a message, some comment from John C. Paul. And I don't know, they expect me to read all of the messages and answer everything. But John C. Paul said that he heard that the U.S. wants to put on a military base in Guyana. And what is my take on that? And because I didn't see the question, he's saying that maybe I support it. But let me ask you this question, Mr. John C. Paul. Do you prefer the Chinese to have a military base there? The Russians to have a military base there? How many Guyanese rush to Russia or China and look forward to Russia and China and all these different things? Keep in mind that Rusal, that bauxite company, is owned by Russians. And look how they treat our people. But every single day, thousands upon thousands of Guyanese every year flocking and rushing to go to the United States of America. But we hardly see people going to Russia. We hardly see people going to China unless they're going there for business. I hope that answers the question. I just hope they answer that question. Joint military support is okay, and you never know. I hope that answers your question. In the event that you didn't get to cover anything and I may have interrupted you, Mr. Caesar, because I don't care what you say. I'm on fire tonight, my brother, and I can go on for another hour. So you take another 2 minutes and close off, uninterrupted, I promise you.
Well, if you need to interrupt, go right ahead. But listen, you just open a can of worms there with the U.S. Having thoughts of putting a military base.
No. It's just a question that was asked. I don't know anything about that.
Okay, but I'm going to answer to it and say, well, if that's the case, at the present moment, I totally disagree with that. I am totally in disagreement with that because you can see it fit to put a military base down in Guyana, but you can't see it fit to address the plight of the people in Guyana and what's happening to them, but you'll come into their country and put on a
Somebody
military
says
base.
here, John C. Paul says that a Chinese base would be Chinese.
Mark, we don't want anybody putting down any bases in Guyana. We want our country to remain just the way it is for right now. Maybe in the future we could look at something, but right now we have enough to deal with, to have people come in and put down bases and all these type of things. We need to look at possibly having our own little small.
To come to y'all prefer Azruddin Mohammed and his gunmen and base and Phantom Squad and more the squads and all this. I don't know. I'm just saying here again. Some people might say I'm pro-American, but who knows? Chinese base. I interrupted you again there, man. I'm sorry, Mr. Simpson. My apologies.
Mark, no one should be putting down a base. Like I said, no one should be putting down no type of base in Guyana at the moment. They can work jointly with the Guyana Defense Force for now. But to have an individual base down in Guyana, I would say no to that right now. We have a lot of Guyanese that are fighting for a little plot of land for housing and stuff like that. We just can't allow somebody to just walk into the country and put on a military base. I don't think it would be fair after you have Guyanese who would have been on lists of 17, 18 years.
But I haven't seen that anywhere. I don't know where John C. Paul popped out with that, my friend.
Well, Mark, who knows? Mark, who knows? There may be some truth to it, but I just want to send through the message one time.
But
I just want to send through the message one time.
Powerful message indeed, but sometimes joint military operations are good.
Right.
Joint. Otherwise, remember, you get Venezuela on the other side that Jagde wanted to give away a piece of Essequibo too, right? Sometimes it's good for a debate. There are pros and cons. There are those who are for it. There are those who are against it. And I'm not disagreeing with people's opinions out there. I'm not going to do that at all. We agree to disagree on some issues, but people are entitled to their views, of course. And that's what makes democracy healthy in any country. And we believe in democracy right here on 107.1 FM.
In my book, though, Mark, in order to get something for me, and this is just my opinion, you have to give the Guyanese people something because I'm here for the Guyanese people. So if you want to put on a military base, and listen, they are pros to it, yes, because Venezuela is working closely with Russia. And yes, we need an ally to work with, and the United States would be a perfect ally to work with in that case. But what I'm saying is that if you're going to put on a base, then let's allocate out lands and make sure that the Guyanese people are taken care of. That's what I would want in exchange of that. In exchange.
All right, the Guyanese people should be taken care of whether they have military bases or not.
Or not,
and,
yes.
The Guyanese military seem to be compromised right now, as indicated in the beginning of the show by this PPP puppet there. But we'll touch on that at a later date and time. But Mr. Caesar, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And again, we thank all those who made this possible. We have scores of other backpacks and areas that we are targeting right now so that these kids could get at least a backpack, could get maybe a crayon, pencils, or whatever it is. It's just something that we decided that we're going to do for these people. And thank you so much, Mr. Caesar, because you've been working for the past week or so behind the scene to ensure that this here becomes a reality. And to all of our listeners.
Well, Mark,
thank you so much indeed. But go ahead.
Mark, I must say, just looking at the photo alone brings a lot of joy to my heart, and I have no problem, no issue doing this for these children. We can be looking at future lawyers, accountants, scientists, amongst other things right there.
Or even talk show hosts,
yes.
Political activists and so forth.
Correct.
Mr. Caesar, thank you so much for your time. And again, to all of our listeners, God bless you all. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Wayne.
Yep. Good night.
All right. Wayne Caesar there. I didn't even look at the time. It's almost 11 o'clock. We've got to go, guys. We really have to go. We didn't even play the people's commercials and all these manner of things. Look, quickly, I want to say this here. Head out there and support Andrew's Supermarket. Go out there and buy your stuff at Andrew's Supermarket. If you have a case, go out there and support Attorney at Law Shellon Washington. And support, as Wayne Caesar said not so long ago, support the businesses that support you. Spend your monies wisely. Spend your monies wisely. Head down to Brooklyn, cut your hair, do your hair, whatever. When you're done, go over to Linda, get something to eat, get a snack, get something. And speaking of that, now they have a political, Aubrey Norton is going to be at some tropical breeze ballroom. I believe it's Friday, the 1st of September. That is this Friday. Head on out there and do your thing. But for now, my name is Mark Benshop, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, same place, same time, on 107.1 FM. God bless you all.
Hello, this is attorney Shellon Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.